Hi there. I mean, has it been weird for you too? It's been kind of weird. The energy of the past week and a half has been sort of chaotic for me and uneven and a little bit heavy. And it feels like there have been stumbling blocks and confusion and delay. And I don't know about you, but sometimes don't you feel like the universe is just kind of like poking at you? I've kind of felt like I've been poked at a little bit this past week, and I've just been trying to acknowledge the fact that I've had moments of frustration, and then just tried to come back around on feeling good and making sure that I'm thinking about the things that I'm really enjoying and looking forward to, and there's a lot of those. So I want to talk about intuition, mostly because it's a guiding principle on how I'm living my life right now. And I've been thinking a lot about how I do that, because there's like a couple levels of intuition, right? Like there's that first like gut level of intuition that you go through where you realize that, all along your body was telling you, no, that's a bad idea. And then you do it anyway, or you like keep dating someone that you're not supposed to date, or someone's been, lying to you and you felt it in your gut, but you ignored it. And so, there's that sort of baseline warning system that intuition can provide. But once you kind of master that, then there's this whole next level of intuition where it's actually guiding you towards positive things, towards amazing things. But the nuance of picking up on what those signs are and how they feel in your body and then acting on them is very different. And so it's story time. I'm going to give you a story. I'm going to talk about this because, well, I love sharing this story because every time I share it, it just helps remind me of the magic of this reality that we live in. And you'll know what I'm talking about when I tell you this story. And so when I tell it, it re-enlivens that feeling in me. And that is one of the tricks that I have to shifting my energy. So I'm going to do that. Because I could use a little positive reinforcement, faith, trust, remembering moment right now. That's what I need. So here we go. So when I was first becoming conscious, one of the things that I had realized after leaving Burning Man in 2015 is that dancing was really important for me to sort of reconnect with my body and get out of my head. And so I was searching for places to do that. And I had found this little dance studio. And I had gone there, and on the door, there was this printed sign, and it was for a full moon meditation ceremony. And I had never been to anything like that before. It hadn't even like occurred to me that that was a thing. And yet there was something about it that made me kind of go, yes, when I read it. I was like, yeah, I should try that. So I decide to go to this full moon meditation, and this woman who's leading the meditation ends up becoming one of my really important spiritual teachers. But that's not the magic that this story is. Actually, this is not the intuition part that I'm telling you. That part is that during this meditation ceremony that she held for us, I dropped into this really deep meditation, and she was guiding it. And she said, as part of the meditation, she's like, imagine that you're holding out your hand, and imagine that your guides are putting something in your hand, a physical object. And that physical object is the thing that will remind you that you are loved unconditionally, all the time by source energy. You know, she said, open your hand and look and see what the object is. And in my meditation, I looked at my hand, and in my hand was a heart-shaped rose quartz stone. And I was like, wow, that's really specific. And we finished the ceremony, and I was thinking about the object and wondering, like, what now? Like, do I go buy it? Like, do I go to a crystal shop and go buy myself a heart-shaped stone? Is that what I'm supposed to do? And then life got busy, and I kind of forgot about it, and it didn't, I didn't pursue doing anything about it. And then fast forward, it was a really big transformational year. And part of it was all of a sudden I was doing all of this travel that was sort of unexpected, but I had fully manifested. And one of the travel pieces was this scholarship, the screenwriting workshop that I was going to in Hawaii. And I arrive on the island a day early because I want to do some sightseeing. And I am driving. I rented a car, and I'm just randomly driving along the streets near the place that we're staying, just kind of checking things out. And as I'm driving, up ahead, I'm heading back towards my hotel, and up ahead, I see a hitchhiker, and it's a woman. And I think, oh, I should pick her up. And I immediately think, oh my God, what? That's the craziest thought you've ever had. No, you don't pick up a hitchhiker. You're a woman by yourself driving. You're not on this island. You're a visitor, and you don't pick up hitchhikers. That's not what you do. That's crazy. And I drove past her, and then I thought, well, wait, why did you have that thought? Where did that thought come from? And I think hitchhiking is actually a thing in Hawaii. I think people still do that, and it's a woman. So how much trouble could you really get in? And so I pulled over to the side of the road, and I turned the car around, and I drove back, and then I picked her up. And she got in the car, and she and I instantly just had this amazing chemistry. We're just talking and having the best time. And it turns out she's this working on this organic farm inside, in the middle of the island. And so on my way to drive her to this organic farm, she's kind of taking me on this tour of all of these beautiful back roads in the island that I would never have seen. One of these roads had these just giant trees, going over it like a giant tree tunnel. And she's telling me all about the organic farming that happens in Hawaii. And I just had this amazing personal tour of Hawaiian organic agriculture from this incredibly charming woman. And we finally get to the place where I am dropping her off, and she gets out of the car and she says, hey, I want to give you something. Can you hold out your hand? And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, you've already given me such a gift. The gift that I got was being able to learn more about this island from you and see things I never would have seen. So thank you for that. And please don't give me anything. And she goes, this is what I like to do. So please just let me do it, because this is what I do. And I'm like, okay. So I hold my hand out, and she puts her hand over mine and drops something into my hand, and then says, goodbye, and walks away. And I open up my hand, and I look down, and it's a heart-shaped rose quartz stone. And I immediately just burst into tears, because I just felt overwhelmed by the magic and the impossibility of that moment, and all of the things that had to come together in order for that to have actually happened. And then I just was flooded with remembering that this stone represents the unconditional love that source energy has for me. And and that I get to just trust that I'm in good hands. And I think of that voice that told me to pick up that hitchhiker, and I think that that's my intuition, right? That was my intuition pointing me in the right direction. And I was really happy that, I mean, of course, like that changed that moment, that decision, that leaning into that, even though I had a little bit of fear. That was like the first time that I understood the emotional dynamics at play when it comes to listening to your intuition when it's trying to lead you somewhere, not trying to like protect you or have you survive, but actually try to lead you to something that is for your highest and best. And the formula for me has been, when I have those like sort of random from out of nowhere thoughts, I need to lean into those. And then the combination of that plus if there's something that I thought that I think I should do, but then I sort of backpedal on it because of fear, right? Because I have that like, oh, I don't know, that seems kind of scary. It seems out of my comfort zone. Those are the things that I now lean into. And I have to tell you, like, you could see, on one hand it feels brave, but on the other hand it really shouldn't anymore, because it has been my experience that every time I lean into it, I get rewarded. The thing that I needed or was looking for, didn't even know that I needed, shows up for me. And so that has been my practice for, I mean, it takes a minute. It takes a minute to really hone in on identifying it, but I've gotten pretty good at it now. And so like my most recent example is, if you've been listening to previous, I had this person who I was looking up to and intimidated by, and then I recognized the fact that the reason that I was intimidated by her is because I was kind of awed by her abilities to energetically read a room and to say things in a way that I wished I could say, and it was very funny because I would be tongue-tied whenever I talked to her, and I'm not really a tongue-tied person. But then once I realized that I was intimidated and that there was fear, then I leaned into it, and I asked her if we could connect, and then we talked this week, and it was such a lovely conversation, and I felt so seen by her, and there are definitely elements and knowledge and things that she knows that I feel like are for me. And I don't know if you've ever heard someone speak and you think, oh, wow, they're like a couple steps ahead. Like what they just said on a level feels true for me, but I haven't synthesized that yet. But now I see it. Now I can picture it. And because of the way that they just said it to me, it's a possibility for me now. It's a goal for me. It's a North Star for me to lean into. And I felt that with this conversation. And so that was definitely one of the highlights for me in the past little bit, where it has felt a little bit uneven. Sometimes I still enjoy beating myself up a little bit because I feel like I should be faster at learning, faster at growing, faster at integrating. And then I remind myself that everything is happening perfectly and it's not my timeline. So, yeah. So I have this warm glow now from having told this story about intuition. And it's reminding me that I need to go hold on to that stone and meditate. And perhaps that's exactly what I need in order to shift things. Stay tuned. We'll see. Thanks for listening.